it's been hacked that has that email address in it. And what happens is the way they get there's a couple ways to get your information. One is the easiest way is that you can't remember your password, so you always write it on a Post-it and stick it on your monitor at the office or on the dashboard of your car, someplace obvious. Two is they overhear you talking about it, or they look over your shoulder and watch you type it. Three is they brute force hack it with software, and that takes a while if it's a difficult password. And then you get into what is more likely is that you set up an account somewhere at Target or at Lowe's or something, and Target or Lowe's gets hacked and doesn't report it. So your information, your password to use for Target assigned with your email address, and your email address is your identity in most places online digitally, gets hacked, and they use that. So if you go here and you check, this all started, I believe, Adobe got hacked a couple years back, and it was really bad because a lot of people use Adobe stuff. And you had the situation where if you're in the category of people that uses 3 passwords or less, that person can go around, and there's an app to see if your email address is on any of popular sites, and they run it through there and they see, oh, you're on Instagram and you're on Target and you're on Walmart, and they go there and they try the password that they hacked, and it's going to hit eventually on something. So they go there and they can log in and they can change your shipping information and ship something to themselves because of no fault of yours, really, other than a poor password plan. I would suggest to everybody that you go out, change your password, and make it more difficult. Another advantage of the LastPass app that I think is really great, they don't publicize enough, is there's an emergency access thing, which is just amazing because I've wanted something like this for years for private information. You can in this bucket of secure information, you can have logins and passwords, you can have notes, you can have links. So it's your bookmarks and everything, but secured, and it's shared between your devices once you log in with your thumb, your PIN, or a combination. Then what happens is, with LastPass, there's an emergency option. The emergency option is great, and they don't advertise it. You can set it up and use it, and you can set a friend, a significant other, or whatever, and you can put them down as your emergency option, and they will get a notification if they're on LastPass that they put you down as emergency option. What that does is you set up a time frame, 1 hour to 1 year, whatever. So you say 24 hours. So at any time, they in their LastPass can hit the button to get your information. Based on the amount of delay you put in it, 2 days, for instance, is what I use, the other person that shared the information gets a notification. Somebody is, the person you sent this to is accessing your emergency information. You have 2 days to decline it. If you don't, they get the information. Your passwords and everything come over to them. Think about the value of that in a medical emergency or a life and death situation or something. And you can stop it at any point along the way. You put the buffer in for how long it is. Because we're going to go into a generation, and we'll be there very soon, and I've seen a little bit of it from time to time. Back in my day, that's what old people say. Back in my day, when someone passed away, we'd sit down and go through piles of paperwork, boxes, wallets, purses, and piece together everything because there was no one repository. Sometimes people were more organized than others, but generally the older people, who were the people that were dying first, typically, they were very private. We didn't know anything. When my mother passed away, her purse sat on the dresser. I'm embarrassed to say how long. It was maybe up to a year because I wouldn't go in it. Because if I went in it, I would probably get smacked from beyond the grave. I did not go in her purse. That was a very private place. Back in the old days, when you'd say, Mom, can I have $1 for ice cream? She'd say, go get my purse and bring it to me. And you'd bring her a purse, and she'd reach into the magic bucket and pull out $1, and that was it. You never knew what was in there. You never knew what was in there. So it was difficult to get the stuff, but all the information was either in their head or there, and a lot of it was there. We used to write things down in books, little telephone books and stuff that couldn't be hacked. Now, the same situation happens. It's all on a phone that you may not have access to, that you may not be able to get access to at all. We have many, many missing person cases where we can't get access to phones. We have them sitting right there, and we just can't get them unlocked. There are some phones you can get into. There are some you can't. This feature of this program, and the program is free. The basic program, it'll do everything I just said to you for free. If you want premium features, and I don't know what they include, it's, I think, $24 a year or $60 for a household of 5 or 6 people, which is really a bargain, because you can have everybody have their own stuff and they have it shared. And you don't have to share all of your stuff for emergency passwords. You can share a portion. You can share all the household billing logins with your spouse. You don't have to share everything. So it's a neat way, and you can put notes in there that are shared. It's a neat way to have it available if something goes wrong. We have a responsibility. People think that, and I'm one of the biggest complainers, but I'm going to clear it up, that, this is bad. A gun is bad. Technology is bad. Something that's absolutely untrue. All these things do is they facilitate bad people to do bad things. The technology in and of itself is completely neutral. It's always neutral. Invention of the car raise traffic fatalities. But that doesn't make the car evil. It just made it the instrument. And as we progressed, education in technology can mitigate or reduce this. The solution is kind of what we've done with cars. Make the technology safer. Used to be, we'd have a car accident, and you'd have, back in the old days, the idea of safety with cars was just put a lot of steel in front of you, and that was it. Now cars are a lot safer, and it's like race cars were ahead of the curve, because you'd have a race and you'd see this terrible wreck, and a person would walk out and you go, whoa, how do they do that? Well, now they do that. You can see that on the turnpike on a given day. People walk out of a wreckage that you think they'd be dead. We made the technology safer. And we need to make the technology safer as far as computers, whether it's through biometrics of thumbprints. Now, I've said that before, and people said, well, what about people without hands? I'm like, I'm not anti people with no hands. I'm just trying to come up with a solution. No matter what solution you come up with, there's going to be somebody who can't fall into that. But if we can make the majority of the people safer and then fill in the gaps, it'll be better. And I think that we have to realize that we have to take some onus in this, and not just blindly use these magic devices and keep dropping personal information in them. We lock our doors, we lock our cars, but we expect these things to magically protect us, and then we complain when they don't. They don't owe us any protection. There's no implied protection. I know I just said that I have a problem with people harvesting, selling our information, not keeping it secure. That's different. They're actively gathering it and putting it in a pile, I wouldn't want somebody to gather all my personal belongings, put them in a pile outside, and not protect them. I wouldn't want them to take them. I wouldn't want them to touch them. And if they do, I want them to protect them. So think about what they're doing with harvesting of your data, the equivalent of taking all your family heirlooms, all your most precious things out of your house, putting them somewhere in a field with no one watching them. Because that's kind of... slight exaggeration, but it's kind of what's happening with it. And we need to take some personal onus of it. And I think that a question that needs to be asked, if you have an opportunity to talk to someone who's running for office, ask them how they feel about this. Ask them what they're doing to protect your digital identity and your digital legacy, because it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. Losing your phone and the contents on that. Think about the stress. Think about the stress in the old days of losing your wallet. Now, the phone is different because you can reproduce it, but there's more on it than we could ever stuff in a wallet. So think about that. Then think about somebody having access to that, and that's it. I have seen people when their phones break, and I've seen people break down like they've just lost a loved one. So the information on these things are very important to us. You have to back these things up. You have to be an active participant in it, or don't use them as much. I mean, don't use them as much. I know some people that use the phone as a phone and nothing more, and God bless them, because they're a lot safer than the rest of us. But I know a lot of people that it is their lifeline to the world. I know a lot of people that use the phone, and if that phone were gone, they couldn't even call anybody other than their grandmother for help, because they don't remember any numbers. They changed things in a lot of the jails around the country. You see video and stuff where people are using their phones. It's because they couldn't take the phone from people and have them call people because nobody remembered numbers. It became a legitimate problem, so they had to let them use their phone to make a call because nobody knows the number anymore. And it's part of the way technology is kind of messing us up a little bit. But if online dealing with people, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody. Trust who you can see, touch, and deal with. When you participate in making things safer, don't delegate your safety to anointed experts out there. Participate in it. Educate yourself. Education is the best thing to mitigate any problem. Education, just use education to squash any ignorance on anything. But be safe and protect your information, because if you don't protect it and you leave it out there, statistically, when these hackings happen, these negative hackings, they happen to millions of people at once. They can happen at a government level. They can happen at an individual level. They happen, but typically they happen to millions of people at once. They don't even let you know unless it's so many it gets out. Statistically, it's roll of dice. You're going to have it happen to you at some point. It could be on a small level, it can be on a big level. But if you just remember different passwords for different things, make passwords more complicated, try and make them 10 to 12 letters around there. And I know people thinking 10 to 12 letters. Use a phrase to a song, use a poem, use lyrics, use a quote. Combine two of your friends' names with some numbers thrown in the middle, a birth year, anniversary year, or something. Come up with what works for you. LastPass or a similar program, KeepPass, RoboForm, to protect your passwords if you want to do that. I think it's a good option because without that, what we will do is we will make up semi-secure passwords. We will write them on Post-its and put them in public places. That's what we tend to do as human beings. But if you follow some of those steps, you'll be a lot more secure, and hopefully you'll never get an email from a Croatian that's trying to get 2,800 bitcoins from you, whatever that is. I don't know what that translates to. I think it's a decent amount of money. I didn't look it up. And maybe I should have, because this could have all been over $3.47. And then I wouldn't waste a half hour of yours. But do those things, and you'll be safer. You won't be completely safe because you have to participate, but you'll be safer. Maybe sleep a little better. Thanks for listening.